Alright, they bloom, they fade, but their impact lasts forever. What am I talking about? Flowers. Flowers are woven into human history, culture, and even our emotions. Every petal carries a meaning, but as global trends dominate, are we losing touch with India's indigenous flower heritage? Well, this morning, as Valentine's fever takes over, Rose Day kicks in, let's talk about something beyond the rose. Let's talk about some of the most forgotten native flowers of India, their deep-rooted role in tradition, in our festivals, in our lives. With commercial floristry also shaping modern preferences, are Mogra, Marigold, Hibiscus, Raat Ki Rani, Harshringar, are they going to make a comeback? Are they being replaced at some level by these Western imports? And is there time now that we actually come back and celebrate all of them? So we thought we'll just do that with you this morning. So get ready for a very flowery start to your Friday morning, and joining us are two guests who perhaps understand this, love this more than anybody else. Joining us is Ambika Gulati. She's a writer and journalist who has documented the power of flowers across culture. She writes a very beautiful blog post. And also with us is Swami Prem Parivartan, and if you don't know him already, you perhaps have seen his reels as he goes by the popular name of Peepal Baba. He's an environmentalist. He's dedicated to preserving India's floral wealth as well. So good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And if I can begin with you, Parivartan ji, हमने फूलों की बात करी. We spoke about how some of the flowers are almost forgotten in India. Some of them, how 90s kids grew up in your nani's backyard. Those are barely found here in urban lifestyle. If I had to start by asking you your few picks on what you think are the flowers that need to make a comeback.
Well, I would like to start with the national flower of India, the lotus. We've completely forgotten that. And in fact, the Indian lotus, which we simply call the lotus, the pink lotus and the red lotus, it symbolizes love. It symbolizes compassion. It symbolizes spiritual enlightenment, and it symbolizes rebirth. And that is why you will see all the Buddha statues, wherever you go to the Orient, you go to...
Even Goddess Saraswati for that matter.
So I think this is something which is, lotus is something which needs to be relooked at. And of course, I have seen in flower cities like Pune, where we are doing a lot of forestry work over there, and we see a lot of people coming up with lotus as a alternative to. I've seen it in parties, to the Valentine rose. Then you have the sunflower. We need to understand that sunflower also, even in Greek mythology, sunflower symbolizes consistency in love. So to be yes. And then we have hibiscus. We have about 42 varieties of hibiscus in this country, various flowers. But some of the main ones, gudhal, जिसको हम बोलते हैं. तो ये जो gudhal होता है, this is offered to Ganesha and Kali. So these are offering, the temple offering, these are the flowers. And of course, then we have the harshringar, the parijat जिसको बोलते हैं, the night flowering jasmine, which is so much in South India. If you see, in fact, South India leads when it comes to use of flowers as temple offerings, that in the north. And the revival I have seen in the past 6 years, ever since 2018 onwards, and especially after COVID, the charm of the rose has gone down a bit. Of course, it is in the urban areas, but semi-urban, tier 3 cities, I have seen that many people have started giving other kind of bouquets and other kind of flowers, and which is a very encouraging thing. And let me tell you, as Give Me Trees Trust, that the entire campaign that we have been running for last 47 years, from Rose Day to Valentine's Day, we are celebrating as a flower week. Because people need to understand that we have so many beautiful indigenous flowers that need to be highlighted. And if we don't create that narrative, I'm so glad that your program, you are creating this talk, this discussion, because we don't discuss flowers.
Yeah.
You know, flower is just to be given to a loved one, or to a birthday or anniversary, or a flower to a temple. But it's a very, very important thing. There are two important things about the flower.
Okay.
That is color, which creates it as a conspicuous item. So color and fragrance. और कलर और फ्रेग्रेंस के कारण ही उसकी सारी आपकी सेक्रेट माइथोलॉजी बनती है ना? इस तरह की फ्रेग्रेंस है, फिर आपके मोगरा की एक फ्रेग्रेंस है, फिर चांदनी की है, सिंगल चांदनी, डबल चांदनी आजकल जैसे नर्स. So it is the fragrance and most important thing, people forget that it is not just a temple offering or an offering to the loved one. Most important thing is our survival depends on that, because insects, the bees, the butterflies, the birds, the pollinators, the whole world moves around flowers. If you have flowers, you won't have crops.
Yeah.
You won't have a harvest. You won't have fruiting. You won't have seeds. You won't have seed dispersal. You won't have expansion of vegetation.
Yeah.
Here, your point of indigenous floral diversity, that comes in, because if we don't promote our own flowers, क्या होता है कि this is a fashion कि बाहर का modified colors यूरोप से लाना, tulips को लाना. So I hear a lot of people trying to grow tulips in Delhi. That's not the thing. So you have to promote native. We have to understand हमारा जो weather system है, हमारे जो climate system है, हमारा जो soil, हमारी जो hydrology है, what of soil, so ecosystem होता है flower.
So परिवर्तन जी, आपने बहुत सारी बातें बोली हैं. One is the ecosystem, on what role do flowers play, especially indigenous flowers play in that entire ecosystem. You've spoken about how indigenous flowers need to be spoken about more, and you also talked about the aspect of commercialization. How flowers are sometimes somebody's, in this week perhaps everybody's talking about it, but then they would be forgotten. So I want to touch upon all of this one by one, but let me also bring in Ambika at this point. Ambika, for all of you who don't know, writes a very beautiful blog which is dedicated to flowers. In fact, it is through her blog that I got to know that Noida has a very flowering and a very sort of biodiversity park which has to be spoken about. So Ambika, congratulations to you to actually putting the spotlight on stuff like this. But talk to me a little bit about has the meaning of flowers changed in our lives? Like, there was a time where flowers would be used in temple as a sense of devotion. There is a time where you still use it for expressing love, for saying sorry. Have flowers gone beyond that meaning at all in your understanding?
Hello Sonu, thank you. You got to know about Noida Biodiversity Park. Sorry. That's my regular walking joint. It's very close from my house. So I go there on a daily basis. And over a period of time, during my daily walks, I realized that flowers have actually not lost their meaning. They're definitely more than just sacred offerings. Because as you go and you explore the park, or you just even go near flower beds, you realize that they attract more people. And you see kids are playing around the flower beds and they're taking pictures. Even people are making reels around them. So maybe they don't understand the importance, as Peepal Baba was saying, but they do understand the beauty of it. They do understand that they need to have more flowers around them because it's just so beautiful. Though going by the trend, I would definitely say that in the decorative space, the exotic flowers have taken over.
Yeah. And
we could do with more indigenous flowers there, because flowers really brighten up our day. I'm sure all of us, when we look at flowers or the daily good mornings that float on WhatsApp, I'm sure that's the thing that makes, maybe we get exhausted with all the good mornings blocking our chats, but the flower itself is such a brightening photograph and such a brightening species that you just go on looking at them. So I don't think we are actually over flowers, or we can ever go beyond flowers.
So Parivartan ji, can I ask you on that note, Why do you think indigenous flowers, like I said, something that we would find in the backyards of our nani house or dadi house when we were growing up, why do you think that's missing in a commercial use? Why do I see more orchids maybe in a decorative setting? Is it got to do with the longevity of these flowers?
See, there are many reasons to it. First of all, I totally agree with Ambika ji. She pointed out very rightly that the exotic flowers have taken over the decorative space. Absolutely. That is exactly my observation also. But here, since I'm related to environment, since I'm related to building ecosystems, what I feel is there's a lack of education and awareness of indigenous flowers. जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, right? So if we start promoting exotic flowers, and there's no harm in, because flower means poetry. Flower is such a beautiful thing, as Ambika ji said, that बहुत बार होता है कि we go to these botany departments and people are very talking very passionately about flowers, and this flower is not good and that. So I see परमात्मा ने सारे फ्लावर्स बनाए हैं. God has created everything. Nature has created. There's nothing good or bad thing about it. So, but at the same time, for the sake of our insects, indigenous insects, right? For the sake of the ecosystem, let the exotic flowers bloom. Let the people enjoy whatever commercially what they buy, what they give to each other. But at the same time, as environmentalists, as botanists, as people on the land, it is our duty, and it is the duty of governments also, the local, state and central governments also, environment ministry, to promote indigenous flowers, because it is healthy. It is suited to our environment. It is suited to soil. It is suited to our hydrology.
But Parivartanji, when you say promote, expand on that a little bit. What do you mean by that? Do you mean plant it in your house? Do you mean use it more often in, gifting people? How exactly?
Yeah, like we have this campaign of setting up rooftop gardens for people, So we just encourage them. We tell them, okay, you need seeds, you take it from us. You need compost, you take it from us. You need small planters, you take it from us. But please create flower gardens, because it's very, very important for the insects and the bees and the butterflies, So there are certain flowers which help in pollination. जैसे बोगनविला है, उसमें nectar होता तो उसमें pollination का नहीं होता, but it's very important for the insects. So indigenous flowers are easy to grow. They are cheaper to buy also. If you go to a nursery and you ask for good health, and you ask for jasmine, you ask for parijat, you ask for harshringar, you ask for chandni, single chandni, champa, or, so he will give you for 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 12 rupees, 18 rupees a pack. But if you go for exotic species, like Ambika ji was saying, then he will charge you 100, 150, 80, maybe 200. So it is easier, and you can have a broader mass base to it. And it is always better to, जैसे हम native food अपना promote करते हैं, native promote करते हैं, native trees promote. The same thing, there is no harm in educating people about the beauty and the reliability, and it's rough and tough because they are made for this environment. So I think you can just, like Gudhal is very, it's one of my favorites. Then Marigold species जितने भी हैं, जो हमारे देश हम जाफरान जितने भी हमारे गेंदे होते हैं, फिर देन स्पेशली परिजात, ब्यूटीफुल, उसकी जो फ्रेग्रेंस होती है, रात की रानी है, मोगरा है, you can't beat them. No road can.
Actually, if you're walking on the road in one of these old societies in Delhi or NCR, if you walk at night, you can just tell if there is a Raat Ki Rani somewhere, right? It brings in so much of peace, nostalgia and the rest of it. So why not have more? Which is what I'm trying to get at, that what is stopping us? I'll just come back to you, Parivartanji. Ambika, I want to understand this from you. People travel to Japan for the Cherry Blossom Festival. People go all the way to Kashmir when there's a tulip gardens in full bloom. There used to be a rose garden back in Chandigarh, if I remember correctly, which was very, very popular, which again was there to sort of make people aware, bring them together. Why don't we see that happening more often? Or are there really spaces like that exist and we perhaps don't know that in the mainstream?
Yeah. There are spaces like that, definitely, Sonal. I mean, Noida, the entrance of Noida Sector 15A, it has a rose garden. And then there are flower shows, which is in Noida also from February 20th, a flower show is going to be held. So Delhi tourism holds a lot of flower shows in the Garden of Five Senses and other places. Though I would agree that we do rush to see tulips more than we rush to see the other flower shows.
Yeah.
So when Chanakyapuri, the tulip festival comes on, all of us are rushing there to take pictures. Probably, I think, because since they are not so common and we are not used to seeing them in Delhi, and the hype is so much about them coming from Netherlands, that it attracts us. But having said that, I would say that I find a lot of people go to the Noida Flower Show. A lot of people go to the Garden of Five Senses and even the Lodi Park. So Lodi Gardens is like full of people all the time throughout the year. And over there you will see different things blooming. Right now also I think they have some tulip, some beds of tulip along with the other flowers. But my personal liking is for jasmine. Last September I used to see all the line butterflies around jasmine, and it was one of the most fascinating sights. I would never miss it. All of September I did that, 31 days. Every morning at dawn I would just go to see that vista. So I think we have to tune ourselves back to the beauty instead of being in a rush. You know, in cities we are always heading towards, I have to get up, I have to rush, I have to catch a bus, or I have to catch the metro, or I have to go to work. We're not taking out even 5 or 10 minutes to just sit by the flowers and observe and understand them. I think that part is more important.
Right. Since all of us are talking about favorites, let me mention mine. It's definitely Madhumalti. I remember growing up in my grandmom's backyard, it would be hanging in massive bushes right behind the little bit of a jhula, and it was the best thing one could get. And it was a great flower to have in the summers because it would give you so much cool air, which is what you're right is missing in urban centers, which is what I want to get some solutions to. परिवर्तन जी कैसे परिवर्तन करें इसका urban life में जहाँ लोग flats में रहते हैं, छोटे घरों में रहते हैं, गंदी हवा लेते हैं और बहुत सारा रेंट पे करते हैं, ऐसे लोगों को आप क्या एडवाइस देंगे कि वो कैसे अपनी जिंदगी में थोड़े इंडिजिनस फ्लावर्स लेकर आएं?
हाँ, जैसे मधुमालती आपने बोला ना, तो मधुमालती इज इंडिजिनस. मधुमालती इज हमारा इस एरिया का भी बहुत अच्छा उगता है इस इकोसिस्टम में, एंड वी यूज इट फॉर बायोफेंसिंग. जैसे instead of bougainvillea, we मधुमालती, and thousands and lakhs में हम लगाते हैं अपने जितने भी स्टेशन एरियाज और फेंसिंग में होते. So Madhumalti is a very, very good option, and we encourage Madhumalti to all the terrace garden people, all the balcony, जो भी gardens के लिए आते. So education is a master key. तक आप educate करो softly, बच्चों को बताओ. अब जैसे standard के बच्चे हैं, primary school, and this is what we are doing. So primary school के जो बच्चे हैं, we go and talk about flowers, we talk about butterflies, we talk about bees. You know, you don't have to lecture people. You can't carry a stick and get them to love flowers and love plant. But if you educate them and you tell them that pollination will not take place, so it's a long thing, but education is the major thing, and you got to catch them young.
Yeah.
If you know, आप 60-year-old को, 40-year-old को, 80-year-old को, उसको ठीक है, उसको एक ब्यूटी और पोइट्री के लेवल पे आप समझा सकते हो, बट बच्चे को जो आप समझाते हो ना, इट स्टेज विद हिम लॉन्ग टाइम. एट द एज ऑफ 6 I was first introduced to hibiscus, and as a shoe flower, and my teacher Mr. Williams in the 4th grade, she used to say that, you know, वो red जो hibiscus है, उससे आप काले जूतों को polish कर सकते हो. So this is the way we were introduced to flowers.
Wow.
But at the same time, one beautiful thing she used to say, flowers were created by nature for nature, not for you to pluck it and put it somewhere. So इट शुड बी ओनली नीड बेस्ड, हम लोगों को भी समझाते हैं, जैसे पीली कनेर भी लगी होती है तो लोग सोमवार को सुबह प्लग करके उसको शिव जी के ऊपर चढ़ाते हैं। तो मैं बहुत अंकल आंटियों को समझाता भी हूँ कि जितने चाहिए आप 4 ले लीजिए, लेकिन ये मत कीजिए कि आप सारी की सारी रोज जो है सारे आप फ्लावर्स प्लग करके और आप उसको मंदिर लेके जा रहे हैं या कहीं भी लेके जा रहे हैं, अपने पूजा स्थल में लेके। सो वी हैव टू मेक देम अवेयर दैट फ्लावर्स आर बेस्ट व्हेन दे आर ऑन द प्लांट, है ना, बिकॉज they belong there, they are beautiful because they are on the plant. The moment you pluck a flower, it starts then degenerating. And insects need them. हम pollinators के बारे में बिल्कुल बात नहीं करते. So here I would like to, जब आपने कहा कि कैसे करेंगे, हम पहले pollinators के बारे में बताते हैं, pollinators के बारे में पूरी स्टोरी बता के फिर उनको बताते हैं फ्लावर्स के बारे में. Then the dots are connected. Then बच्चों को समझ आता है. और हम कॉलेजेस में भी जाए, वी आर गोइंग टू दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेजेस आल्सो, एंड दिस वीक वी आर डूइंग अबाउट nearly 40 sessions we are doing with various educational institutions. We are only talking flowers. And you need to be excited, you need to be passionate, and if the storyteller is not passionate, if he or she, first of all, he or she should have the knowledge, and you need to convince the masses that flowers are a very, very essential ingredient. Then we give
essential indeed. And can I end on a positive note? It's so nice that you have people like Peepal Baba, you have people like Ambika who are speaking about it, writing about it, getting the right kind of education out there. All you have to do is listen. All you have to do is take out 5 minutes and understand truly what they want to say. Also, my big takeaway is that you can polish your shoe with hibiscus. Well, I'm going to try that when I get back home today to see how that works. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us on this very colorful discussion to understand how and where do the indigenous flowers of India really belong and how can they really stay in their full bloom.